Level 1. The clean exit. Level 1 barely qualifies as betrayal at all. It's the clean exit, the transfer where both club and player acknowledge the relationship has run its course. These departures sting, but they don't wound. Harry Kane leaving Tottenham for Bayern Munich in 2023. Spurs supporters spent a decade watching their academy product become one of the Premier League's deadliest finishers. They saw him break records, carry teams, and embody their hopes. But they also saw him win nothing. Kane wanted Champions League and trophy glory before his physical prime expired. When Bayern offered that possibility, Tottenham didn't stand in his way. The financial settlement worked for everyone. There were tears in interviews, tributes from teammates, and genuine appreciation flowing both directions. The same calculus applied when David Beckham joined Real Madrid in 2003. Sir Alex Ferguson had already frozen him out. The relationship had deteriorated beyond repair after Ferguson famously kicked a boot into Beckham's face in the dressing room. Everyone saw it coming. The key distinction at level 1. Supporters process these departures as circumstantial rather than personal. Their star didn't reject them. The situation simply evolved beyond anyone's control. It still hurts, but it's the kind of hurt that heals. Level 2. The forced exit. Now we climb into genuine betrayal territory, though at level 2, the guilty party is usually the club. This is the forced exit, the contract that never gets offered, the treatment that pushes a legend toward a door they never wanted to open. When Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang was stripped of the Arsenal captaincy and exiled in December 2021, supporters were divided. Some felt he'd earned dismissal through repeated disciplinary breaches. Others saw a player who'd given everything, who'd chosen Arsenal over Real Madrid, being discarded like depreciated inventory. Either way, the departure was forced. Aubameyang didn't want to leave. Arsenal wanted him gone. Sergio Ramos experienced similar dysfunction at Real Madrid. 15 years at the Bernabeu, that Champions League equalizer in Lisbon. The captain's armband for club and country. The white shirt was synonymous with his identity. Then the contract negotiations became a financial standoff. Madrid presented an offer Ramos considered insufficient. Ramos waited for a better one. The deadline passed. And suddenly a living legend was holding a tearful press conference, blindsided by his own departure. Did he play hardball too long? Did the club undervalue him? The answer depends entirely on who you ask. The defining characteristic of level 2 betrayal is asymmetry. One party wants to continue, the other doesn't. And the one holding power, usually the club, exercises it in a way that leaves the other side feeling discarded. These departures create lasting resentment because supporters instinctively wonder, did we treat this person fairly? Did we honor their contribution with appropriate respect? When the answer is probably not, the guilt lingers for years. Level 3. The strike. Level 3 introduces open hostility. These aren't players quietly maneuvering behind the scenes, they're players who stop showing up, stop trying, or actively sabotage their own clubs to force transfers. At least there's a brutal honesty to it. No pretense, no performance of loyalty, just a player declaring through their actions, I don't want to be here anymore, and I'll burn everything down until you let me leave. Ousmane Dembele's exit from Borussia Dortmund in 2017 set the modern template. When Barcelona came calling after Neymar's departure, Dortmund initially refused to sell. Dembele's response? He stopped training. He stopped answering his phone. He vanished entirely, leaving his club with no idea where their €15 million investment had gone. Dortmund eventually caved. They had no choice. A player who refuses to participate becomes a depreciating liability, and the longer you hold on to someone who doesn't want to be there, the more their value erodes. Dembele won, but the manner of his victory branded him permanently. Every subsequent attitude problem in his career gets filtered through the lens of what he did to Dortmund. Carlos Tevez's golf course holiday during the 2011-12 season at Manchester City remains legendary for its brazenness. With City chasing their first Premier League title in decades, Tevez got into a heated confrontation with manager Roberto Mancini during a Champions League match against Bayern Munich. Mancini claimed Tevez refused to come on as a substitute. Tevez claimed there was a misunderstanding. Either way, Tevez then disappeared to Argentina for months. Photos emerged of him playing golf while his teammates fought for the championship. He'd essentially gone on strike. Not for better wages, but because he was unhappy with his reduced role. Dimitri Payet at West Ham. William Gallas allegedly threatening to score own goals at Chelsea if he wasn't allowed to leave. These situations reveal what happens when the employee-employer relationship breaks down entirely and the employee has just enough leverage to make things ugly. The profile here involves a player calculating that their individual power exceeds their collective obligations. They're betting the club will blink first, and often the club does. But supporters never forget the calculation itself. There's something jarring about watching someone who earns millions per year refuse to honor their contract simply because they'd prefer to be somewhere else. Still, at least a strike is honest. Level 4 is worse precisely because it isn't. Level 4. The broken promise. If the strike is a punch to the face, the broken promise is a knife slipped between the ribs while someone's hugging you. This is the territory of active deception. Players who look supporters in the eyes, swear loyalty, and lie. The betrayal isn't just the departure, it's the performance of commitment that preceded it. Neymar's exit from Barcelona to Paris Saint-Germain in 2017 remains the textbook example. Throughout that summer, Neymar insisted he was staying. He posted photos with teammates. He participated in training. He told reporters his future was at Camp Nou. He performed contentment so convincingly that Barcelona's supporters believed him. Then PSG activated his €222 million release clause, a figure so astronomical it doubled the previous transfer record. And suddenly, Neymar was boarding a private jet to Paris. He hadn't just left, he'd looked Barcelona's supporters in the eyes and lied to them while the deal was already being finalized. The damage here exceeds level 3 because supporters feel personally deceived. A strike is confrontational, but at least everyone knows where they stand. A broken promise attacks trust itself. It makes you question your own judgment. Were you naive to believe him? Were the warning signs there all along? Antoine Griezmann's La Décision fiasco amplifies this dynamic. In 2018, Griezmann produced a documentary, a literal television special, announcing he was staying at Atletico Madrid. He made his commitment into content. He turned loyalty into entertainment. Then, a year later, he left for Barcelona anyway. The production of La Décision made his eventual departure feel premeditated. If you're genuinely committed to staying, you don't need cinematic validation. The documentary exposed something uncomfortable. Griezmann was already mentally rehearsing an exit, even as he performed loyalty for cameras. Wayne Rooney's 2010 transfer request at Manchester United operates in similar territory, though he never actually left. Rooney publicly demanded a move, citing concerns about United's ambition and refusing to sign a new contract. The situation looked terminal. Then he signed a 5-year extension worth reportedly £180,000 per week. United supporters were relieved, but also unsettled. Was the transfer request genuine frustration or sophisticated negotiation leverage? Did Rooney ever actually intend to leave, or was this performance art designed to maximize his market value? The broken promise corrodes something fundamental about the supporter-player relationship. You can forgive someone for wanting to leave. You can understand ambition, money, trophies, family reasons. What you can't easily forgive is being lied to first. But what happens when the betrayal isn't one player lying, but an entire ownership class deciding supporters don't matter at all. Level 5. The institutional betrayal. Now we ascend beyond individual transfers into something larger. Betrayals committed not by players, but by the clubs themselves against their own supporters. Barcelona couldn't even register Lionel Messi in 2021. They'd spent themselves into 1.3 billion euros of debt chasing Neymar replacements, 160 million euros on Coutinho, 140 million euros on Dembele, 120 million euros on Griezmann. And when the wage bill exceeded La Liga's salary cap, the greatest player in club history became the casualty. Messi sobbed through his farewell press conference, forced out by boardroom incompetence, while the men who'd made those decisions faced no consequences at all. But Barcelona's rot wasn't isolated. 2 months earlier, 12 clubs had revealed just how little supporters actually mattered to ownership. The European Super League announcement in April 2021 lasted exactly 48 hours before collapsing under universal condemnation. But those 48 hours revealed something profound about modern football's ownership class. 12 clubs: Arsenal, Chelsea, Liverpool, Manchester City, Manchester United, Tottenham, Real Madrid, Barcelona, Atletico Madrid, Juventus, AC Milan and Inter had secretly negotiated a breakaway competition that would guarantee their participation regardless of domestic performance. No relegation, no qualification through merit, just permanent membership in football's billionaire club, insulated forever from the consequences of failure. The furore was instantaneous and overwhelming. Liverpool supporters erected banners at Anfield reading RIP LFC 1892 to 2021. Chelsea fans blocked their team's bus before a Premier League match. Gary Neville, a former Manchester United captain working as a television commentator, delivered a passionate denunciation that went viral within hours. Within 2 days, every English club withdrew, but the scar remained. The Super League proved that owners viewed clubs as investment portfolios rather than community institutions. They'd tried to demolish football's pyramid structure, the system that allows any club, theoretically, to rise from the bottom to the top through sustained excellence. What made this betrayal particularly devastating was its scope. These weren't rogue individuals making selfish decisions. These were entire organizations, collectively deciding that the existing social contract between clubs and supporters no longer applied to them. Institutional betrayal cuts deepest because it exposes how powerless supporters actually are. Level 6. The reversed betrayal. Here's where we flip the script entirely. Because sometimes the betrayers aren't players or clubs. Sometimes it's the fans themselves. On October 27, 2019, Granit Xhaka walked slowly off the Emirates pitch. Arsenal were drawing 2-2 with Crystal Palace. Manager Unai Emery had substituted him in the 61st minute, and as Xhaka made his way toward the touchline, the Arsenal supporters began to cheer. Not ironically, not sarcastically. They were genuinely celebrating his removal. The jeers intensified, the boos grew louder, and Xhaka, the club captain, the man they'd chosen to lead their team, snapped. He cupped his ear toward the crowd. He waved them away dismissively. He mouthed profanities as he walked. Then he ripped off his shirt, threw it to the ground, and disappeared down the tunnel. The stadium fell into confused silence. Here was something football rarely discusses openly. What happens when supporters collectively decide to humiliate one of their own players? What damage does that inflict? And who, exactly, had betrayed whom? Xhaka later explained that abuse toward him and his family on social media had reached unbearable levels. His wife had received death threats. The toxicity had accumulated over months until that substitution became the moment he could no longer pretend everything was fine. The toll of sustained fan hostility is rarely discussed. Rejection from your own supporters triggers something deeper than opposition abuse, because it attacks the fundamental sense of belonging that makes team sports meaningful in the first place. Xhaka was stripped of the captaincy. He nearly left for Germany. Instead, new manager Mikel Arteta convinced him to stay. And over the following 4 years, Xhaka rebuilt his relationship with Arsenal's supporters to the point where he eventually left as a fan favourite. But that October night revealed something uncomfortable. Sometimes the collective behaviour of supporters constitutes betrayal too. Harry Maguire has experienced this at international level. The Manchester United captain was booed by England fans at Wembley in 2022 during a match against Ivory Coast. Not by opposition supporters, but by his own country. Manager Gareth Southgate called it an absolute joke. Harry Kane said it was just not right. Declan Rice called it total embarrassment. Maguire hadn't committed any betrayal. He'd simply played poorly for his club that season. And sections of England's fan base decided that his club form disqualified him from respect while wearing the national team shirt. The asymmetry here matters. Players are supposed to receive abuse from opponents and opposing fans. That's part of the competition. But when your own supporters turn on you, when the people who are supposed to be on your side collectively decide you're unworthy, it attacks something fundamental. Always support your own. Level 7. The unforgivable. And now we arrive at the transfers so devastating, so perfectly designed to inflict maximum pain and inflict wounds that still haven't healed. Their names alone trigger visceral reactions from the supporters they left behind. Roberto Baggio to Juventus, 1990. Baggio wasn't just Fiorentina's best player, he was Fiorentina. He'd come through their academy. He'd saved them from relegation with crucial goals. He'd formed an attacking partnership so lethal that supporters couldn't imagine the club without him. Then Juventus, Fiorentina's most hated rivals, the club that had beaten them to the Serie A title years earlier amid controversial refereeing decisions, offered a world record fee. Fiorentina's president accepted, and Florence erupted. Actual riots broke out in the streets. 50 people were injured. Fans attacked the club's headquarters. They burned effigies. The city descended into 3 days of chaos that required police intervention to contain. Baggio himself claimed he had no choice. "I was compelled to accept the transfer," he said. The financial reality left him powerless. Fiorentina needed the money. Juventus had it. But when Baggio returned to Florence wearing Juventus colours, the animosity remained overwhelming. He was booed from the first whistle. And when Juventus won a penalty in the second half, a penalty Baggio himself had earned, he refused to take it. He couldn't bring himself to score against the supporters who'd once loved him. The replacement took the kick instead. The goalkeeper saved it. Baggio picked up a Fiorentina scarf thrown onto the pitch as he was substituted. The purple cloth became an apology he couldn't put into words. Mo Johnston to Rangers, 1989. This one transcended football entirely. Mo Johnston was a Celtic hero. He'd scored 52 goals in 3 seasons for the club. He told reporters he was coming home to Parkhead after his contract expired in France. Celtic even presented him to the media in their jersey, confirming his return. Then Rangers, Celtic's bitter cross-city rivals, in a rivalry soaked in religious, political and social divisions stretching back centuries, announced they'd signed him instead. Johnston became the first high-profile Catholic to sign for Rangers since before World War I. The club had maintained an unofficial policy against signing Catholic players for decades. By breaking it with someone who just promised his future to Celtic, Rangers delivered maximum possible damage to both factions simultaneously. Rangers supporters burned scarves and season tickets outside Ibrox. The club's kitman refused to lay out Johnston's kit in protest, making Johnston arrange his own equipment before matches. Celtic supporters called him Judas, a traitor, a man who'd sold out his identity for money. At Johnston's first Old Firm derby, both sets of fans booed him. He'd managed to unite the two most divided fan bases in Britain, in hatred of him specifically. The mental resilience required to perform under those conditions is staggering. Every touch invited abuse from 50,000 people. Every mistake confirmed tribal narratives about betrayal and character. Then he scored the winning goal in the 88th minute, against Celtic. His celebration was provocative enough to earn a yellow card. The Celtic supporters who'd once sung his name now screamed abuse. Death threats followed him for years. Johnston later said he wouldn't have made the move if his children had been old enough to understand the danger. At the time, he was 25 and willing to test exactly how far one man could push against football's tribal boundaries. The answer? Too far.
Sol Campbell to Arsenal, 2001. If Johnston tested tribal boundaries, Sol Campbell obliterated them entirely and got paid nothing for the privilege of doing so. Campbell wasn't just Tottenham's best defender, he was their captain. He'd come through their academy, made over 300 appearances and represented everything the club wanted to be: strong, homegrown, world-class. For months, Spurs supporters asked him directly, "Are you staying?" Campbell said yes. The club offered him a new contract. He stalled. They offered improved terms. He stalled again. The reassurances kept coming. So did the delays. Then, on July 3, 2001, Arsenal announced they'd signed Sol Campbell on a free transfer. Free. Tottenham's captain, their defensive leader, their academy graduate. Walking across North London to join their bitterest rivals, and Spurs received absolutely nothing in return. The fury was immediate and endless. At Campbell's first North London derby, the abuse was relentless from kickoff. Spurs supporters unveiled banners calling him Judas. They burned effigies outside the stadium. The chants that followed him for years were so vicious, many of them homophobic in nature, that they eventually became the subject of police investigations and public condemnation. But the hatred never faded. Even now, over 2 decades later, Campbell cannot set foot in the Tottenham half of North London without risking confrontation. Former teammates who stayed at Spurs have spoken about feeling personally deceived. The wound never closed. What makes Campbell's betrayal particularly devastating is the completeness of it. He didn't just leave, he left for free. He didn't just join a rival, he joined the rival. He didn't just win trophies, he won 2 Premier League titles, including Arsenal's invincible season in 2004, the greatest achievement in English football history. Every trophy he lifted was a reminder of what Tottenham lost. Every clean sheet was proof of what they gave away. And they received nothing, not a single pound in exchange. Campbell has spoken about the mental toll, the isolation, the years of hostility that followed him everywhere. In a 2015 interview, he said the abuse affected his mental health for years and that he felt abandoned by the football authorities who should have protected him. But sympathy from Spurs supporters? Never. Some betrayals are simply too complete to forgive. Luis Figo to Real Madrid, 2000. And finally, we arrive at the pig's head. Figo spent 5 years at Barcelona. He scored 30 goals. He provided countless assists. He became vice-captain. He won 2 La Liga titles, 2 Copa del Reys, and a Cup Winners' Cup. He embodied everything the club represented: Catalan identity, technical excellence, the beautiful game played beautifully. Then Real Madrid's presidential candidate, Florentino Perez, promised Figo a world record £37 million transfer as part of his election campaign. If Perez won, Figo would become a Galactico, the first of many superstars Perez would collect like expensive art pieces. Perez won, and suddenly Figo belonged to Barcelona's most hated enemy. His first return to Camp Nou in October 2000 brought unprecedented hostility. 105,000 fans screamed abuse. Banners called him Judas, scum, and mercenary. Fake money printed with his face rained onto the pitch. He refused to take corners, fearing for his safety near the crowd. Barcelona won 2-0. Figo played terribly. 2 years later, he returned again. This time, he walked toward the corner flag. And this time, someone in the crowd had brought a severed pig's head. The cochinillo landed near his feet as debris fell like rain. Coins, lighters, a glass whiskey bottle, a knife. The referee stopped the match for 16 minutes while workers cleared the pitch of weaponry. Figo's teammate Michel Salgado later recalled, "By the second or third corner, I turned to Figo and said, 'Forget it, mate. You're on your own.' I used to offer Luis the chance to take the short corner, drawing up close to him near the touchline. But not this time. Best to keep away." The match ended 0-0. Nobody cared about the score. What mattered was the statement. Barcelona's supporters had demonstrated that some betrayals cannot be processed rationally. Some wounds cannot be healed through time or success or apology. Some lines, once crossed, remain crossed forever. Figo won La Liga twice with Real Madrid. He won the Champions League. He won the Ballon d'Or in his first season, largely for performances in a Barcelona shirt. None of it mattered to the supporters he'd left behind. To them, he remained what he became on July 24, 2000, a traitor. The ultimate traitor. The benchmark against which all future betrayals would be measured.
Every player eventually moves on, but some departures become folklore and some become warnings. Somewhere, right now, another player is weighing a decision that will define how millions remember him. If this video made you think of a name, a player who still makes your blood run hot, drop it in the comments and make sure to subscribe.